Just introducing you.
Hi, Brian.
So last time that Nancy was on, see if I get my face in here. Last time that Nancy was on, she couldn't speak, so I'm very happy to hear her speak. I mean, your voice wasn't, your sound wasn't working. Yes, so it's great
We
to
were
have
talking to each other, but alone.
alone, talking alone. It's like the entire last year. All right. Well, do you have any comments about museums? What kind of spaces they are for you?
I feel like I live in the museums of the past because I haven't been to one in so long.
Uh-huh.
And so much of my childhood was spent in museums
Mm-hmm.
because my mom took me to them all the time.
Uh-huh.
So for me, they're like these places where you see beauty.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
That that's the first thing I go to when I think of museums.
It's an environment that seems to be dedicated to beauty. It's interesting because it's also the past, and like not all the past is beautiful. So it's interesting how for me it's like a little slice of the past that seems to be a beautiful slice, you know. Although I mean, like, you can go to a Holocaust museum, and I guess that's not like beautiful, but
No,
I think we're thinking maybe of art museums. Yeah.
art
Yeah.
museums primarily is what I went to, yeah.
Okay, great. So shall we doodle?
Let's doodle.
Okay, we're gonna doodle. I'm so happy to be talking with you, Nancy. I'm gonna flip my camera, and I'm sure you've figure out how to flip my camera like that. People are gonna see my notes because I can't do anything without notes. All right, and
You have notes?
I
You have
have.
notes for doodle with me?
You know what I sometimes do before doodle with me? I sometimes will practice doodling. I'll sometimes try to come up with a question beforehand so it's not off the top of my head,
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes
you
sense.
know? And yeah, I mean, yeah, so I'm going to be using a ballpoint pen tonight.
I am too.
Yeah, you know, I usually
But
use.
I also have magic markers.
Mm. And I'm hopeful folks in our studio audience will be, I hope folks in our studio audience will also be drawing with us. But if not, you can listen to us, and that's great too. I'm just trying to figure out what part of my paper is in the camera lens. Yeah, I started to think about using ballpoint pens because that's really, most of the doodling I do is with a ballpoint pen. And I had been using markers, and then I started to realize, you know, I'm just using markers to be more entertaining. But the ballpoint pen, it's got like a great scratchiness that I like, so I am a fan of it. Now, Nancy, is doodling kind of a thing that you like to do, or that are you more of a I like to draw things person?
Well, I like when I'm talking on the phone
Mm.
or in a Zoom meeting.
Mm-hmm.
I like to doodle in the margins.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I started to try drawing again,
Mm-hmm.
and actually your show helped me because it gave me some time and space, and I didn't put pressure on myself.
Mm.
So I was drawing during Doodle with me. I was drawing houses and
Mm-hmm.
churches and
Mm-hmm.
sugar bowls.
Mm-hmm. And what? Sugar
Um,
holes? Oh,
sugar
sugar
bowls.
bowls. Right, right. Those are things.
Um,
The sugar bowl was in front of you, I guess.
yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
So, but I don't know. I stopped drawing. I think drawing's really hard, and like I guess I lost some of my ability with drawing, and I think I got a little frustrated.
Mm.
But
That,
doodling is like low stress.
yeah. Yeah, I do it because it's low stress. Um, it seems to be the one thing I don't get stressed out about. And I'm really, seriously, the one thing, the one thing. But Nancy, you are a writer. And
Yeah, I'm a
so I
writer.
wonder, but I also know, didn't you go to art school? Was that right?
I was an art major, yeah.
And so what happened? How did you go from the making art to the writing? How did that happen?
Well, I think when I was in college, I went to a women's college,
Mm-hmm.
and my sense of the other students was that they were so well spoken and very well read, and it felt like a place of talking, talking.
Mm.
And so going to the studio was quiet, and I just felt like it was a different way of thinking.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
And I really liked it. And then, but you know, I moved to LA. I was on the East Coast, and I moved to LA right after graduating, and all of a sudden I felt like I had all these things to say that I couldn't say
Mm.
before, and I was still making art, but I started writing poetry, and poetry to me seemed a lot like painting because it was like moving words around on the page the way you would put paint down on the
Mm.
page.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get
Um,
that.
but then I just felt like I couldn't do both. Like I I wanted to be I wanted to be dedicated, and
Mm-hmm.
the writing took over.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was
It's
that journey. And I
mm.
used to like to go to museums in LA.
Now, do you think that you started to feel more comfortable writing? And this might now I'm theorizing. Um, yeah. Oh, yeah. We're bringing it back to museums.
I wanted to bring it back to museums, but you can ask me about anything.
No, it's good. I'm going to try to. Let's see if I can try to talk about museums some more. Um, I have a really weird relationship with not weird relationship with museums, but I'm a person who's worked in museums for a long time. I no
Yeah.
longer do, but it's kind of like working at Disneyland, like you've eaten all the food,
Yeah.
you know what the rides look like in the back, and you see all the spitballs like stuck on the side of the Matterhorn, that kind of thing. And so there's a little bit of that when because I work in museums, but they
It's
are.
taken the magic away, is what
No,
you're
I
saying.
gotta no, I gotta say it's still magic. Like
Oh,
even
okay.
my last job at a museum, I would like on my breaks, I would roam the galleries just to look at the
Uh-huh.
art. I still felt it was magic,
Yeah.
I still have that feeling about it, and I think it's just something. Is it art? Is it for me? Is it the objects or is it the frame? And that's the thing. Is it the fact that it's in a special environment that make the objects shine, or do the objects really shine on their own? And as
Mm-hmm.
as someone like where I make art, and I don't try to make masterpieces per se, and I've given up thinking about my work in museums just because I'm not within those circles or have those opportunities at this point. Not to but boo-hoo, but not really, because that's just, there's all kinds of artists out there. But one thing I was going to say is uh, first of all, how certain objects find their ways into museums is interesting. How
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you can plan to make a work that has a certain resonance, maybe, that one might feel when you're in a museum. I mean, so the relationship between like the setting of the museum and then the artwork itself is something that I'm really interested in. Like, and I think part of it, and not to be cynical, is just money. Like,
Mm-hmm.
could could a Van Gogh, could a Mona Lisa, could who's a contemporary artist that everyone likes, um, a Basquiat, Would they look good if they were like in a shack in the middle of a field? You know, would it be the same experience, or would it be a different kind of experience? And so I guess those kinds of things, like what's the connection between the setting, the setting of reverence,
It's like when you're watching a film and the actor is so famous you can't allow yourself to believe that they're acting.
Mm-hmm.
And if I feel like if you can't get lost in the work and the museum distracts you from it,
Right.
then that is a bummer. Like I like to get lost in the work. I don't mind that there are other people around, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind that kind of energy of like, I mean, because that's the other thing, like you're asking about the environment, but isn't a museum also supposed to be a communal experience? And yet we're just kind of like checking people out, or I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But
Well, there's some
but
people that work in museums that don't feel it's a communal experience, that would be much happier if the objects just, you know, were left alone and no one really like was around them, breathing on them and stuff. It's kind of like sometimes people who work in schools are like, oh, I'm so happy when the students aren't here. It's a little of that, like things are just so much better and easier when we're just with the art and not the visitors. But the visitors are, it's part of like the history of museums has been, it's set up to be for visitors. I mean,
yeah.
it's about kind of, at least for me, coming. I hope that this isn't boring because I'm talking about what I used to do for a living. But for me, it's kind of like those objects are meaningful because of our relationship to them. They're not
Yeah.
meaningful in themselves, and so
Mm.
you have to understand that the meaning is being made all the time. It's not inherent, you know.
Well, that's so much of what you did was making conversations around the art
Yeah.
instead of someone lecturing you about it, and like those
Well,
wall labels. I have such a
oh yeah.
fraught relationship with wall labels.
Could you tell me why?
Well, on the one hand, I feel like I should get what I want and need just from looking at it,
Uh
right?
huh. Uh huh.
And so then, but then, sometimes I think that's silly and I want a little bit of context. But then sometimes I get so annoyed when I do read them and there's pretentious language.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, sometimes the language makes me aware that I lack education, or the language makes me aware that someone's assuming something about myself that I need to know in order to enjoy the artwork. Or language is complicated that way. It's got a relationship to power for me, and the power of the museum. It's often using language in those sorts of ways to say, this is a special club and you don't necessarily belong if you don't understand this or that or whatever. I mean, those are the kinds of things that I worried about when I worked at museums. The thing also, too, was that really anyone can have any relationship they want to what they look at a museum. You can go
Right.
in there to learn, or you can go in there to, you know, remember things you liked or find things. But everyone's going to have like a different relationship, no matter how hard you try to tell them, well, this is what you need to know about the object. They're going to, look at it the way they want to look at it. So it's kind of an interesting thing for me. The title too for Doodle with Me, for Graveyard Muse, also came from when I was working with these kids who lived in Anacostia, and I was trying to get them to come to the museum.
Where?
Anacostia.
Where's
Um,
that?
it's in Washington, D.C. It's kind of on the other side of the Anacostia River, and it's a neighborhood where a lot of the kids were, African American, and they didn't have necessarily, like they were far away from the National Mall, so a lot of times they just wouldn't go. It wasn't their neighborhoods. It wasn't what they were interested in. So here I am, like some white guy trying to say, "Oh, you should come to a museum. It's so great." And but they, I remember them saying, some of the kids saying to me, "Well, we don't go there because it's just a place for a lot of dead people." And I thought, how interesting! Like, for this culture is like a death culture for them. This culture is not not beautiful or not, and that made me start to understand that some of the things that I was experiencing in the museum and that I was raised to enjoy about museums, it wasn't everyone's experience, and a lot of people could give a shit about going to a museum, or like you said, it wasn't where the fun was. It wasn't where, and yet for an art museum, I just feel like art, there's an amazing kind of intuitive, imaginative, emotional experience that, for me, in art is very lively. So I guess museums must be doing something wrong for people to start to feel like that can't be happening in an art museum, And and then is it wrong, or is it just not for everyone? And I guess I'm kind of being a evangelical, but I kind of feel like, well, there is something for people. I think there should be something for people at museums.
Well, yeah, we pay the admission fee.
There was a whole thing too about, at least when I was in New York, there was a whole thing too about the admission fee going up. When you went, it went up to $20, and I had a friend who was like a performance artist, and he had all these people get together. The first, I think it was at MoMA, the first day that MoMA did the $20 admission fee, my friend got all these people to put $20 in pennies on the counter. So it's like, well, here's our money, but you're going to have to count each one. And it slowed down all the lines, and it created a real ruckus. But it didn't break the law. It was just all in pennies. Yeah. But I thought that was kind of fun.
Yeah. Well, when the it's interesting about like the dead stuff. I feel like that's really true. Like, I can understand that.
Yeah.
Because there are all these items that are just entombed, and old and musty, and then there is that kind of, like what people said in the comments, like the silence of it's almost like a mausoleum.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but
yeah, and that's kind of what started me to think about, like, the idea of a museum as a graveyard, like, and yet, like, for me, it was complicated because here I was, like, basically an undertaker working in museums. You know what I'm saying? Like why was I so in love with this place that really acted like a graveyard, or acted like a mausoleum? And
yeah, I'm talking to my friend Ryan.
Oh, okay. Tell him I say hi.
Okay.
Tell your mom I say hi.
Party.
Oh, I'll be up in a little while. That was. Oh yeah, I'm just down here.
Are you at your folks' place? I guess so, huh?
Yeah, I am. That was my sister. It was her birthday today, and we had a party.
Did she enjoy it?
Oh yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah. I'm sorry I interrupted you.
No, it's fine. It's completely fine. I'm glad you were able to make it. I was thinking how funny it would be if you were to not be able to come, and it would be like another situation.
bummer,
It would
man.
be another situation where we're having some kind of problem in terms of getting together. Now,
I have to say, I was so frazzled today, and
oh
I
yeah?
even just before we started, I was like, "How am I gonna doodle?" And I just was like, "Oh, it'll be fine. And it's making me feel so much better."
This is a commercial for Doodle with me. I'm just letting everyone know Nancy has been paid to talk about how great the show is and how much it helps her. No,
Yeah, I'm
she's not.
talking to Ryan.
Oh my God.
Sorry. I didn't even have time to tell people.
Oh, you just skipped out.
No, no, no. There's no more party. I mean, everyone's still here, but they're doing their own thing.
Oh, everyone's gone off and doing their own thing now.
Yeah. Anyway.
Now, Nancy, I recently got a box of things from when I was younger from my parents, like
Uh-huh.
photographs, all of these love letters that went back and forth between me and I had a girlfriend when I was an undergrad who went to Mills College, so she used to write me letters. All of those love letters.
Oh,
I
wow.
know. I haven't even opened it up. I'm scared of falling down like the hole of,
It's a time capsule.
yeah.
You can take it step by step.
I think I'm going to try. I mean, the pictures are easier, but the love letters are going to be hard because
Yeah.
I'm going to have such a different perspective. I mean, this was like 30, 40 years ago. I mean, it's nuts. It's so long ago.
I think, well, I wonder if it can be a kind of maybe you can doodle in between each item.
That's right. I'm just starting to think about, do I want to bring doodling into what I do for my drawings? And I'm starting to realize, I've always, and we talked about this on another one of these shows, but that I've always separated doodling from what I actually do when I'm doing my drawings. And it's like, maybe I don't need to. So it's a funny thing to think about, like, oh, when is an artwork actually done? Like, when is it ready to hang? And could a doodle be something worthy of hanging? It's just, yeah, the idea of something having to be finished. Sometimes doodles don't feel like that. So then it's like, oh, that's not real art.
Yeah, I guess it puts a certain kind of. It's like you don't want it to turn into the pressured weight. It's like you want to bring the doodle to the art, and not the art to the doodle.
Right,
You don't want
right.
to bring the pressure, right?
Well, I never felt pressure about making art, really. Even when I had shows and stuff. I mean, I did feel pressure, but it was more like excitement. But now that I'm trying to take myself more seriously, I'm doing all this crazy, stuff like it has to be this way. I, it's my legacy. All that kind of stuff. It's really ridiculous.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, also too, the last place I taught was Yale, and I think I soaked up a lot of ideas about art there that now I feel like for me to take myself seriously, it's like, oh, I've got to think that way about it, as opposed to just how I had been thinking about it before, which was, like serious art looks a certain way, or serious writing needs to sound a certain way, or all that stuff. And it's really not helpful to making work.
But does art have to be serious?
No, I don't think so. You know, I don't, I don't, I don't think it has to be serious. I don't think whenever I've tried to make serious art on purpose, I don't think it's always been that great. I don't think it feels great. Although it's funny. It's just like a process, and whatever comes out will come out. But at the same time, I just can't have expectations for my own work. I can't say, oh, it needs to do this. Because a lot of times when I do that, I don't know. I'm pretty rebellious when it comes to telling myself I have to do something, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Nancy, I have to give us a few minute warning. We're at 6:30 already.
Wow, that went by
It goes
fast.
by really fast, and appreciate you chatting with me. And
It was great to chat with you. Oh, look at our
yeah,
nice
oh
doodles.
yeah,
They're both so
I
nice.
know.
I feel they're complimentary.
Yes, they are complimentary.
Wow.
Interesting. Yours is more of a mandala kind of effect. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of different kinds of shapes and stuff going on.
But we have
Cool.
similar colors.
Mm-hmm. It must be spring.
Yeah, it's spring.
All right. So I'm hoping that also too, if people will, if um, if people would like to send me any of their doodles, little photographs of their doodles, I'd appreciate that. And thank you, Nancy.
Thank you, Ryan.
We
That was
did it.
great. I loved it.
We did it. So I'm going to just sign off with everyone, and I'm going to disinvite you. I'm sorry. I hope it doesn't
Okay.
hurt. Okay.
Bye.
Bye. Oh, wait. I just said that too soon. No. How does that work? Okay, well, you're just going to have to hang out with me while I do.
Should I do something? I can push this little X.
Press the X and see what happens.
Okay.
Uh, hello. So, thanks everybody for joining. If you're just joining now, we always start at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard and Mountain Standard Time, and 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we only go for 30 minutes because we want to keep you wanting more, because we like that. So anyway, doodle with me. And there's going to be a new calendar coming up. Thank you, Nancy, for joining me. It was great to doodle with you. And the calendar, there'll be a month of scheduling that'll come up next week if you want to join at any point. Fridays of, what are we going to be? Fridays of April. And I'm excited to have some guests and excited to continue to keep doing this. I look forward to it. And I look forward to people just taking this time with me and me giving myself the time to do it with you. So that said, have a great week and a relaxing night and a great weekend and all that stuff. All right. Until next Friday. Bye-bye.